Vitamin M's. This is your motivation for the week. Get your vitamins.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Yay! Good evening, good evening, good evening. Listen, welcome to the Vitamin M Show, where the M stands for motivation. I am your hype girl. I am your girl next door. Listen, I am your fire starter. I am Marshall Sterling, and I am so excited and grateful that you are joining me on tonight. Listen, if you have not paid attention to our new series, you have got to get into this new series. It is my story. Everybody has one. What's yours? We all have a story to tell. And on tonight, listen, we have our special guest that's going to join us and tell us her story. Because remember what I said, everybody has a story. So I am grateful on tonight. I am thankful for Gwen Burno joining me on tonight to tell her story. Listen, she is a certified Christian life coach. She's an equipping profile coach. She is also a Ramsey financial coach, an author, and a speaker. Help me to welcome Gwen Burno to the Vitamin M Show. Yay!
Thank you, Marcia. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this. I'm like, wait a minute, I have to go back to this. So, a certified Christian life coach.
Certified Christian life coach.
Equipping profile coach.
Yes.
Dave Ramsey financial coach. Author and speaker.
Yes.
Can you add anything?
Well, I'm all about helping others get the lifestyle that honors God. And I find it, if I'm going to help others, I also have to be improving upon myself, growing, constantly learning, constantly pouring into myself so that I can pour into others. So you may see a designation coming in after that later on down the road, because there are people who need help. And that's what my life is all about. I'm all about it. I'm committed to it. I'm committed to helping, especially women, navigate through life and not let life overcome them.
See, and that is the whole premise of the Vitamin M Show. It really is. It's all about helping others and not just yourself. But in helping others, then I end up helping myself in the end. So Gwen, we are doing this series, and you know why you're here. Yes. My story. Everybody has one. What's yours? So I ask you the same thing. Tell us your story. This is what is your story?
Yeah. And I love this because I really do see my story as chapters. So I love this, and I love having this opportunity because it has given me the chance to reflect back over my life and pull the story, just review the story again, although never lose it, is always with you. And truly, as I track through my chapters, it has led me to where I am today. So my story began small town Georgia, rural Georgia, only girl, 4 brothers, household mom and dad. But in my childhood, in my household growing up, there was a lot of tension, especially between my dad and myself. And my dad was pretty much, do as I say. Gotcha. And just do it. But, I was created with this curious nature, and I'm kind of inquisitive, and I love words, right? So it doesn't work well for me to just say do it just because I say do it. I kind of need an explanation, to go and help me understand why. Even to today, I use the words, okay, help me understand. But that wasn't my dad's nature. So Gotcha. A lot of it was heavy-handed. It was authoritarian, it's like, yes. Just do it. And so that created a lot of tension and a lot of friction. And, it's so hard for me to figure out, does my dad, how do I get his love? How do I earn his love? Where is, the love in all of this? Because I wasn't feeling it. I was feeling frustration. Yeah. So I grew up in a household where there was constant tension. I had daddy-daughter issues. It's like throughout. And then, so that was throughout my childhood. Now I'm transitioning into adulthood, leaving home, off to college. I say that about my dad, but my dad was the one who really instilled in me education. You will go to college. Since age 3, this was the message that was sent to me. So it was like I was groomed for college. But, okay, so it reached a point when it was that time. What do I do? I transitioned into college. I made the decision, yes, I'll do what my dad has taught me to do, go into college. Once I got to college, though, that tension is still there with my dad and myself. And it's like, and we run into this challenge where I made a decision and he disagreed with it and he cut me off financially while I'm in college. So that led to just heartbreak. It's like when I was trying to find that love as a child growing up in the household. Now, you cut me off and it's like, and I'm still searching for, what kind of love is that, but not really being able to like label it. Is it love or what is it? What's missing? So I always felt like I was on this search, like this quest, trying to feel something that was empty in me that I just didn't have, right?
Gotcha.
And it was very hard to go home and see my dad would give my brother money and then look at me and say, I'm not giving you anything. It's like, you're on your own. Only because I just disagreed with, he disagreed with my decision.
It's your decision. And so you think about, but I think a lot of us can, I think there's a lot of people that can relate to the impact that a father in a home has on their girl or son, either way. And so that impact then, like, and I know, audience, you can relate to that because that's a lot that you said just in that amount of time. And what does that, so talk to us, Gwen, about when we think about those as like parents and as a child, what does that look like? Because here's a dad that's authoritative and saying this is what you will do, and here's a child that has words that wants to speak out. So where is that balance between the two?
And you have to understand too the time period, right? You have to understand a rural South, right? And you also have to understand that my dad, very hard worker, strong provider for the family, but understand his background, he was not necessarily fortunate to get the education, but he knew enough that this is what it takes to get us up out of this situation that we're in. So he was always the hard worker and the provider for the family, but no one had taught him how to communicate, right? So my dad, he grew up, he had polio. So with that, and, in limited education, he still went out and started businesses on his own, worked, and he taught us ethics like that. But I'm still a girl, right?
And you're still
I'm still a girl, and I still need to be able to express, who I am. This is who God created me to be. He created me to be inquisitive. He created me to be curious. He created me to have this mind to try and understand. It wasn't something I just picked up on my own and say, okay, and just to, go up against my father. It's just who I am. So it speaks to when we hear today, it's like everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be loved. But it's important as parents for us to understand how a child receives love.
I like that. Okay, audience, wait a minute. So we're gonna, Gwen, this is a perfect segue. We're gonna pause, guys, and take a quick commercial break, and we're gonna come back and further talk to Gwen about, what does that love look like? And then how does that lead into the remainder of her story and how that impacts the remainder of her life? We will come back and talk about that after these messages.
Are you looking for a way to present your product, service, or event to a new audience? Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Act now if you would like to be featured or advertise on the Vitamin M Show with Marshall Sterling. This is your chance to present your product, service, or event in over 200 million homes. Do not miss this opportunity. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to www.marshallsterling.com.
Welcome back. Listen, we are in here talking to Gwen Burno, and Gwen, I really am like this, guys. We are here having such a great conversation, and we're talking, and where we left off is talking about how people accept their love language and basically how we accept love and giving it in the way that it is received and what that looks like. And we were talking about your dad. So I want you to pick up right there and just kind of walk us through, like, what does that mean to you? Like, talk to us about that.
Well, having my dad's love and approval, I really can't even put that in words, because I believe this is just part of nature and just how we were divinely created to have those types of connection. And then for that connection not to be there, and for me to always long for it, but being young, not understanding, that's what the longing represented, to be connected to my father. Okay, but since fast forward, in maturity, I've been able to reconcile and say my dad did the best that he could with what he had to work with. And that's how I made peace with it. But continuing on with my story, how it played itself out, as I began to transition into adulthood, you have to understand now, I'm not protected by this small community, this rural town, mostly made of my family, well-respected elders, people who knew me, knew my family, looked out for me. I grew up in a town, where I felt very safe and secure because people knew me. Right now, I moved to a city, a major city. I'm in college, right? And that whole protective, is missing. It's gone. So I'm exposed. Right? So here I am, this insecure girl, because, I haven't had daddy-daughter love here, strong bond. So I'm this very insecure girl out in the world. And I just made this decision. And the decision was just to leave one college. I needed to go to another college, and that college didn't have dorms. And my dad just was not on board with it. And that's the reason he cut me off financially. Okay. So what do? I move forward with my idea because, I'm very strong in my convictions as well. I get that from my dad. Gotcha. And so I move forward with my decision. But what happens? A guy comes along who, appears to be what I'm looking for, who I'm longing for, appears to have the answer, to what I'm searching for. He comes across as this businessman who takes care of himself, takes care of life, and he shows an interest in me. He's 10 years older. He comes across as if he's successful, and he's showing interest in a college student, a young college student. And I take that interest to be, wow, because finally here's someone who's going to show me, this love that I don't have. And here's someone who says that they are capable of loving me and, and want to love me. So I start floating, on cloud nine. And I start planning out my life, what it's going to look like and what all we're going to accomplish together, because, he's just a great guy. Yeah, we start dreaming and thinking ahead. Right?
And how many of us do that? We start, something happens, and then we dream and we think ahead, because it's to me, Gwen, that just reminds me that what we bring forward from childhood, from our upbringing, what we bring forward into life and how it impacts us. So here you are, young, insecure, somebody begins to pay attention.
Impressionable. Yes.
And then we're making decisions.
Driving a very nice car, wearing very good suits, very nice suits, has his own business, the package. The complete package, as far as I know at that age. That's what the package looked like, right?
It does.
Because I don't have a full view of life. I don't have a complete foundation to understand, how life works. I'm working fragmented here. So I'm putting pieces together, because I used to wonder, why my girlfriend's lives are not looking like
mine.
Because mine was going ragged, okay? For lack of a better word. I was about to, and you'll hear why. It's because it was all a facade. I fell for the facade. And when I fell hard. I fell very, very hard. The enemy came and presented. You were looking for security in the man from your father. Now you're going to look for security in another man.
Because you didn't get it.
I didn't get it from my father. So maybe this man is the one
that's going to give me what I'm looking.
And satisfy my heart.
and all the
Satisfy
things
my
that I'm looking
heart.
for that I'm not. Although we can say that our parents, or like in your case, your dad, and maybe in somebody else's case, it may be their mom.
It could be.
It could be. They're doing the best that they can,
They
and
are.
what they're equipped. Because I heard you say that your dad was able to run a successful business,
Yeah.
even though he wasn't, maybe as educated as we would say.
Right.
in our-
Multiple businesses.
multiple businesses. And so
Yes.
there you go. Somebody that
Yes.
says, I have drive, because
Yes.
that's what we have to do. Like, we've learned to take what we have and make something of it. And so we all have to do that. We all have to take it
Yes.
and make something of it. Okay, so here you are, young, impressionable, and here's this shiny major city. It's all shiny. It looks good. And then
looks
come on,
good.
Gwen, what happens?
It was the biggest mistake of my life. It was the absolutely biggest mistake of my life. It nearly led to suicide. He ended up being a man with rage and anger and control. He was the epitome of, it was like walking evil. And it ended up being a physically abusive relationship. And I was so broken and so beaten down. And the little bit that I had left home with, can you imagine? The little bit I left home with, that all got beaten down to literally nothing, to literally sitting on the floor with the gun in my hand saying, I just can't handle it anymore. I just cannot take this pressure anymore. And this is the only way I saw out. It was the only way I could see out. It ended up being just, this man who couldn't control his anger. And I became
The
punching bag, the whipping bag,
the other end of this anger,
I did.
because
That's what, and through it all, what did I have to hold on to? What I had to hold on to was my dad telling me, you will go to college. You will go to college, since age 3. So all I knew was to show up for class, keep showing up for class. One time I showed up for class and I had bloodshot in my eyes. And one of the students said, "Are you okay?" Well, that came from, he had busted the door of my car. He wanted me to let the window down. And when I, didn't let the window down, he just pounded on the window and the glass shattered on me and the glass went in my eye. And that's why I had blood. And that particular time I had to call my brother to come and help me, because that's when I just really lost it and just just emotionally didn't know what to do at that point. And that even that was not the end of the relationship. Even I couldn't get out. Way over my head. Way over my head.
so what do you?
Couldn't get out.
So you can't get out.
That's when you cry out to God.
'Cause that's
Because
a
your
story.
friends start leaving you because they don't understand. They cannot take on, all the hurt and the pain that they're seeing in your life. And they don't know what to do with it. And I'm not strong enough to say for myself, to pull myself out of it. And they're not strong enough to stand around and watch it. So one by one, they start walking away. And so I'm in it. And what do? You cry out to God. The only thing that kept me from not pulling that trigger, I was going through different people in my lives. It's like, okay, if I do it, this will be fine. My parents will be, they'll work through it. But when I got to God, that was the one thought I could not move past. Now, if I commit suicide, how will God receive me? How will he know, what will he do with the fact that I've committed? And I didn't have an answer. And so that's the only way I stopped and didn't go through with it.
There have been many of times on this show that I don't know that I've been speechless, but this is one time that I'm a little speechless. And so we're gonna pause here and take a break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna keep talking to Gwen about her story. Everybody has one. This is her story. What's yours?
Marshall Sterling is available for your next event. Known for her energetic speaking style and down-to-earth teaching, Marshall has made a positive impact on her audience at every engagement. Whether it is a keynote address, conference, workshop, breakout session, or staff meeting, Marshall brings the same fire and excitement to every session. To bring the Sterling experience to your next event, scan the QR code on the screen, or go to www.marshallsterling.com.
I am humbled and grateful to be back. Listen, we stopped at a very great point because I tell you before I left, I'm usually not speechless, but when you listen to people's story, it renders you speechless sometimes. And Gwen, just listening to your story and talking about being at that broken place, and the only thing that stopped you was how would God receive you from being at that place where you were just ready to commit suicide and just basically that's it. Like, I'm done. Right. I can't take it anymore. And so talk to us about where do you go from here? And like, what was that like?
Right. So I really believe that God honored that moment. I believe, now trust me, throughout this, whole period with this relationship with this man, there were cries to God, help me. There were cries periodically because I was in way over my head, right? So I believe he truly heard me. I believe he truly saw me. Mm-hmm. I believe he connected with my heart, understanding that there was missing piece in my heart. I believe he felt compassion for the situation and love for me. And I think the fact that I stopped and I considered him. But remember, I grew up rural South, and my biblical knowledge, not to say, rural South doesn't know the Bible. I'm not saying that. But, we grow up in churches with hell, brimstone. You're going, is that right?
Yeah.
You're going to hell.
Yeah.
Going to hell. It's like, don't sin, you're going to hell. Be saved and you're going to hell. I grew up with that message, but I didn't grow up with a lot of the gaps being filled. We're truly understanding the Christian faith, although I accepted the Christian faith as mine. So, all I had was what I had to work with, and I used what I had. So I knew there was a God. I knew God was real. He was very much real to me. Okay, I didn't understand how my life fit into, his plan or any of that. But I knew there was a God. And that little bit of knowledge was enough to keep me from pulling the trigger. That's it. I believe he honored it.
So it's not that we need a lot. It's not that but it's, what I'm hearing you say is that I used what I had.
I used what I had.
I only used what I had. And what if that was what we,
right,
always our takeaway, what we always do, because I know the self-doubt that I have about myself and my abilities, but what if I had the same attitude as you? I just use what I have.
Yeah.
And then God comes in and he's able to.
Right. It's like the widow with the last little bit, right?
Yes.
In the Bible. It's the widow with the last little bit, Elijah. And life continues on with that. She just offered, just bring me the last little bit. It's the woman who's saying, just give me the crumbs from the table. Even the dogs will eat the crumbs from it. Just give me the crumb. All we need is the crumb. All I needed was just to say his name. That's all I knew. I knew there was a God. I knew his son was Jesus Christ. And in that moment, all I knew was that I cannot go meet him via suicide. And from that moment, I'm not going to tell you that it got better. I was still in the fire, right? So what I had to do was do what my dad had taught me. Dad had laid the foundation for me. You work hard. You're going to get anything in life, you're going to work for it. But what had he ground into me? Go to college. So you know what? You show up. You show up day after day after day. You study. Barely graduated. I'm one of the ones who graduated, as they say, thank you, Lottie. Thank you, Lottie. It's like, that was me. Barely made it across that graduation stage.
But given your situation, though, so it's
crawled across
the stage. Guys, can you guys relate to this? That here is someone that has experienced the unthinkable, but to still, so all of that. So talk to us about two things, because I'm like, I know we're gonna run out of time. Talk to us about your dad. Like, what happened with your dad? Like, what ended up happening with Dad?
Graduation, he showed up. He showed
Okay.
up. It's still important. It was still important for me, for my dad to be proud.
Yes.
You know, that doesn't go away. He's still my dad. He showed up. He was a proud man to see me graduated. But fast forward, you know, my dad has since passed away. But before my dad passed away, he had an opportunity to apologize. And he said, as he was dying, he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for it all. But I want to share with you how good God is. My dad's last days were our best days, because those were the days he talked to me. He just sat and talked to me. It's all I ever wanted. He saw me. He shared his life, told me stuff. It's like, oh, it's going to be so good. I just needed to know that.
And that's what we need. And even as human beings, and even as moms, as dads, that's what we need. We need to see each other, which is the premise of the whole, which is one of the premises of the Vitamin M Show, is that I see you, and I see you, Gwen. I honor your story. It is a very powerful story, which has propelled you to get to where you are.
Yes.
Today.
Yes. And I don't want to just say that my dad saw me. I saw my dad too. And all is well.
And all is well.
All is well.
All is well. Listen. Your dad didn't just see you, but you also saw him. And that's the thing, is that I like that piece of it, that I not only did he see me, but I saw him, which means that you stay clear in your heart to be able to receive that.
Right.
Listen, Gwen, this has to be.
He loved me. You know?
Yes.
And at that moment, all I wanted was my dad to live. You know, that's all I wanted. But he was dying, you know. So it didn't even matter about all the tense relationship pieces we had in the past, because I just wanted him to live. But he gave me what I needed at the end.
And sometimes that's what happens, is that we get what we need at the end. Listen, this has been Gwen Burno's story. We are appreciative of her. Listen, we're going to give you some other information about how to follow her and all of those details. We listen, from my heart to yours. We love you. We appreciate you. This has been your Vitamin M.
Follow Gwen on social media. For speaking or coaching engagements, go to www.displaystrength.com. Join us next week to get your weekly dose of Vitamin M. Book Marshall for your next event. Please visit our website at www.marshallsterling.com.